welcome to another episode of Another Round podcast. And I am your host, Mike Thomas, and I am here with the amazing, the adorable Geordie, the scrappy amateur boxer, and also definitive boxing knowledge of Hamza Hanief.
Hi all. Thanks for that very, very flattering introduction.
Yeah, so we're going to cover a couple of things and go over like some previous fights, because I've been dying to get you on the show, because obviously you were at Ringside at Conlan Wood. It's obviously an amazing fight. And also want to talk about some previous fights as well, and then some future fights. So I thought we would just start with the first one. Wood Conlan, man. What a fight that was. Unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe he just came out like a fucking ball of energy. It was like a little green ball of energy. This Irish guy came first 4 rounds, just like pepper, like pop, 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 like just first 4 rounds. And I feel like Wood just could take so many shots. Like, he can take so many shots that he just like absorbed it and then just like slowly like drained him of his energy and just kept like cutting down the tree. And then he just fucking flopped out the ring at the end. It was unreal. What did you?
Wow, I mean,
you make?
What a fantastic fight! And obviously, I was lucky enough to be ringside, and it was Conlan he came out and he was switched on from the opening bell. His counters were crisp. His ring general things that are grit and determination. It's like that Carl Froch like determination of just taking a shot and just coming forward. I mean, Leighwood got caught clean, not just in the first round, but in the first 6 rounds. And he just, I mean, it was amazing to see. He just never stopped going forward. And what a brutal ending as well. I mean, what a brutal ending.
It was like every round, man. Every round there was some more drama. Like, someone was getting knocked down virtually every round. It was crazy. And you mentioned Froch. He was actually commentating. You won't know next to right on ringside, but he was loving it, mate. He was loving it. Being from Nottingham as well, being like proper. He was proper into it. He loved it. I'm surprised you went. That's quite far from Newcastle.
That's one thing I have to say as well, that the Nottingham fans come out for their fighters, and it was a packed house, and there was about 4,000 Irish and the rest were Nottingham fans, and the atmosphere was electric in there. And like I say, I think that sort of, I don't know what it is about that Nottingham sort of breed, but they like Leighwood in a way. He's a little bit slicker than Carl in the way that he boxes, but like he switches stances quite a lot. But just that grit, that determination. I personally, going into the fight, I picked Conlan.
Yeah,
to win. I love his style. I love how game he is.
Yeah.
I thought he would just be a bit too slick for Wood, but. Mm-hmm. Wow, I mean, Leighwood is he's just made of something different.
Yeah, you could see Conlan was naturally faster. You could see his hands were faster. You could see he had way more energy in the first 4 rounds, up to maybe 6 rounds. He was pulling punches left, right, center out of his ass. Like, he was so fast. And Wood was just like a big block of wood, literally. Just like a big block of wood, just taking shots after shot after shot, absorbing it. I know he went down, but he just took a lot. He took a lot of punishment. And I feel like even though they looked similar stature, they looked kind of like similar weight and height, you could tell that Wood was a bit stronger and he had a bit more power. Conlan was obviously more faster and technical, but what a fight, man. That was insane. That's going to be one of the fights of the year already. I think
that's the thing. We're only in the year. I absolutely agree with what you were saying as well about Conlan. sort of being the faster and the more technical boxer. In the first 4 to 5 rounds, it felt that I just felt that Conlan couldn't miss with his left hand. Every time he threw that left, he connected. And it was worrying because you were watching it from ringside and you could really feel that he was putting some power into those shots. And like you said, Leighwood, true to his name, the man was made of oak, because he took those shots and he came back. And I mean, a fight of the year, I mean, it's going to be a hard one to top. We've got, obviously, as boxing fans at the moment, I think it's like Christmas every other month for us, because there's so many great fights coming up as well. But I mean, I think we've got a contender for fight of the year here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. And I also think, we've got some great fights coming up as well. But going back to a few more weeks, because I've only just managed to speak to you about this, but what did you watch the Jack Catterall and Taylor fight? Did you watch it?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I did.
Like, how did you score it?
I'm a massive Josh Taylor fan as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's from Glasgow. I've got family from up Glasgow. It's a rough, tough city, and it's a great city as well, full of fantastic people, and like the nightlife there is just amazing. But I'll be honest with you as well. I was a little bit ignorant about Jack Catterall, so I was kind of expecting. He's a mandatory challenger. Hadn't really heard of him being in any high-profile fights, and I was thinking this is going to be a step too far for him. You know what I mean? Josh Taylor is slick. He hits hard.
Yeah.
But Jack Catterall, like I mean, I'm definitely a fan now. I'll be tuning into every single Jack Catterall fight from now on. I mean, the way he composed himself and handled himself in the ring with a hostile crowd.
Yeah.
And he beat Josh up at times. That's what was, because I was sat at home by myself, watching it, just fully dialed in, and it was. He bullied Josh at times, which is, I've never seen any other fighter do that.
Yeah, because he's big for his division. He's big for his weight, so you wouldn't expect it. But you know what is interesting as well? Like, he is just not just you underestimate him. Josh Taylor underestimated him as well, because I've seen his interviews and things that he was saying before the fight. He was totally underestimating Jack Catterall. I think thought he was just superior fighter. I thought he was going to be a breeze for him. I don't think he prepared for Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall was on a mission, came out, and you know what's interesting? At the end of the fight, he said, "I lost the first half of the fight." So Taylor actually admitted it. He said, "Oh, I lost the first half of the fight, but then, I came back at the end. But actually, you got knocked down in the 8th round. So if you lost the first half of the fight, you admit that, and you got knocked down, then obviously you lost the fight, dude. Like, by mathematics on points, you obviously lost already. So that was the crazy thing. And the weird thing was, the judges, it was a horrible decision. Obviously they're under a lot of pressure. They're in Scotland. The whole crowd has gone mental. Like, they've got them on their backs, but the judging, man, they've got to change that. There's got to be some kind of accountability, isn't there?
Absolutely. I don't know. There's an interesting side note about this fight, actually, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but the local MP for Jack Catterall's area actually, he referred the decision to the police. Like, the police actually that is true as well. They actually referred it to the police as local MP, and it was a shocking decision. Like, I rewatched the fight as well, because I think sometimes when you're watching it on first viewing, you're very taken in by the emotions of it all, and it's all unfolding right there, and it's difficult to sometimes to follow it as accurately as you can. When I watched it live, I thought Jack Catterall won clearly, and when I watched it again, I thought Jack Catterall won clearly. And honestly, even there was the rounds that I was scoring to Taylor, they were like, give me rounds. Like, I was almost like, okay, you did it enough, sort of. I don't understand with boxing. why they don't move towards an open scoring format where you can see, and the fighter and the fans and the people at home can see where the judges are at sort of halfway through a fight. I feel like it would add to the drama of the fight itself. It would definitely change the tactics of a fighter if you knew he was down. But there has to be accountability, because I understand, and with judging, and it's the same story every time. It's subjective, and it is. But how can so many people see it for Jack Catterall, and the three guys with the best seats in the house see it the other way?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it was an absolute robbery. And
that's where you lose trust, isn't it? You've got three judges, then you've got the entire crowd and everyone watching on television, and the people commentating, and the people in the punditry box, all saying that was the wrong result. And then you got three judges saying the opposite. That's where you've got to be like, what's going on? Like, I know football, and I know the Premier League isn't perfect. We don't really have the best refereeing, but the Football League has like a refereeing system where if they do well, they go up. And like the best refs are supposed to be in the Premier League, and they go down if they score down. They need to do that in boxing, because you've got people that are just there by name, and then they're making these dodgy, bad errors all the time. Certain judges.
It's horrible, because I think for guys like me and you, we're always going to watch boxing. Yeah, we'll grumble and we'll gripe, but we'll watch the next fight because we love boxing. But if you're a new fan and you're watching a sport and you see something so unfair happen, you're not going to stick around. You're going to go watch MMA. You're going to go watch something else, glory kickboxing. You're going to go watch something else, because there's so much out there.
Yeah,
I don't want to cry corruption, because I have no evidence of that, but I struggle to fathom how such a decision can be made. And if you think about it as well, Jack, I don't know if you follow. I started to follow Jack Catterall on Instagram, and he put a heartbreaking post up the following day about how his dreams had been stolen and how he would have been a unified champion. That would have changed his life, and it is heartbreaking to see. There needs to be more accountability.
Yeah, you feel for him. I definitely feel for him, because it's like, you've worked so hard, he's trained so hard, and knowing how much he would have had to have done to win that fight, because he knows it's a title fight. You've basically got to definitively win when you're challenging, and you're a challenger. So him to put all that work in, all that slave away and train so hard, and then be denied that on a very controversial decision, I really feel for him. It's just hard. It's devastating, you know. But they have to really address it. But what I did know is they put the rankings. They ranked him above Taylor. Did you know that? They actually ranked him. I didn't actually know that. No. Yeah. So they actually ranked him after.
Kind of agreeing. That's the sort of
that's how ridiculous that is. But coming up in we've got this weekend. We've got another big fight as well. We've got Josh Warrington against Kiko Martinez. I think that's a great fight. That's
one from your neck of the woods as well. That's like sort of your,
the fans are going to be insane. You talked about Nottingham. I mean, you can't really argue with the Geordies and the Leeds fans for atmosphere and putting it on, and the crowd is going to be. He's going to have the home crowd behind Josh Warrington. But I tell you what about it, it's not an easy fight, because Kiko Martinez, he's got a few losses on his record. He's got like 10 losses, but he's come into a bit of a mercurial end to his career, where he's really picking up his form. He's fought amazing against the Sheffield lad. What's his name?
Kid Galahad.
That's it, Kid Galahad. And he was unbelievable in that fight. And he was again against the home crowd. So how do you see it? What do you think's going to happen?
I mean, I remember watching him fight. Yeah. Kid Galahad. Kid Galahad was defending his world title against him, and I thought it was a routine defense for Kid Galahad, and it should have been a routine defense. Martinez is a world class operator, but he's towards the back end of his career, and he destroyed Galahad. Nobody, including Warrington, has ever done that. In fact, I personally think that Warrington beat Galahad, but there was, you know, it was a competitive, close fight.
It was close, yeah.
It was, and he absolutely destroyed him. I mean, the shot that he hit him with, I mean, that would have put an elephant to sleep. That was a fun. And if he finds that shot on Saturday night, you know what I mean? It's gonna silence an entire arena. So Josh Warrington has to be switched on. He has to. At every moment.
And if you look at the stats as well, Hamza, and I'm going to put them up on this as well. You look at the knockout ratio. I think Josh Warrington does not knock anyone out. You think he's got maybe a few knockouts, but Martinez has about 10 knockouts out of about 30 fights, and he this is what 1 in 3 averaging. So he really is. He's a tiny guy as well. I think he's shorter than Josh Warrington, but he's got some kind of unreal power, and he's got to be really, really wary of it, because he'll go to town. He'll just fucking up. So that's going to be great. And then obviously Maxie Hughes on the undercard. That's going to be a good fight. Ebanie Bridges, I don't know who she's fighting, but she's always entertaining. You know the story about Ebanie Bridges as well, why she supports Leeds. She's a big Leeds fan.
I'm not actually sure about that. Why is that?
Well, she's from Australia, but she grew up watching Mark Viduka. Mark Viduka used to play for Leeds like in 2004 kind of era. We had a few Australian players. We had like Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka. So she was big into it, and she's followed Leeds since then. And then she's just fallen in love with it. She just moved to Leeds, and now she wears like Leeds shorts and everything. Everyone's like, "Why do you support Leeds?" So yeah, I think she's good. And I watched her story on Anything Goes with James English. I don't know if you've seen his podcast, the Scottish podcast guy. Anything Goes.
Oh, yeah.
He interviewed her, and obviously she's got quite an interesting story, quite a sad story of how she got into boxing. But yeah, I just kind of I thought I really root for her now. And now I want her to win. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's gonna be a good fight. And also the good thing about these UK fights is, I know DAZN isn't really taking off in the UK, but it's awesome over here because everything, I've paid for an annual subscription on DAZN, and it's all on DAZN. Like, there's so many fights on there, and it was like $100 for the year. So I'm like, it's like easy, good life for money. Like, so many fights on every week. So especially this year.
Oh, they've got a very, very good schedule if you're a boxing fan. And I mean, especially, I mean, pay-per-view over in the UK is fairly reasonable. I mean, it was being overdone for a little while. Every big fight seemed to be on pay-per-view. But I mean, it's £21 or something, literally like for a pay-per-view. I know it's like $60-70 over there for one night's worth of boxing, which is extortionate money. You know, for one night's worth of boxing. The Zone is priced at $7.99 here a month, and I mean, already the schedule that they have, it's just, if you're a boxing fan, it's value for money. One thing I want to say about Ebanie Bridges, I believe she's challenging for a world title. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not very familiar with her division or anything like that, but she is very, very impressive. She's very, very impressive, and I think she's got a massive future in boxing as well. She's definitely got some skills, and obviously I think with a girl that just looks like Ebanie Bridges, you're always going to have fans that are going to flock to her because she's, you know what I mean. So it's I'm very interested to watch her. And I think it's a great, if she can win a world title, the world's her oyster.
Oh, she'll blow up. She will blow up if she wins the world title. That's going to be crazy. And also, I don't know if you know this, but if Josh Warrington wins this fight, he's going to have Marcelo Bielsa flown in from Argentina to walk him through as his ring walker for the next fight, which I think was really class, because I felt bad for how Bielsa was sacked at Leeds. But anyway, that's another story. We were getting panned every week. But yeah, so big. That
would be one for the Leeds fans, though. If that ring walk happens. The Leeds fans will appreciate that
Oh,
one.
they'll love it. They'll love it. So, big fight, probably the biggest fight of the year, if anything happens with, if Usyk and Joshua actually comes to fruition. But Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury, 23rd of April. What a amazing fight. Unreal fight. I cannot wait. This is the biggest British fight we've had for maybe what, Lennox Lewis kind of era. Can't even remember.
Yeah,
Like it's unreal.
massive.
They've allocated 100,000 fans. They've got some extra, like 5,000 extra, like package deals that they've just released. So I just cannot wait, mate. What are you gonna be going down? Are you watching it or?
No, and I unfortunately won't be able to make the trip. It does clash with something else, which is disgusting for me because it's a fight that I've often said should happen. Like Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte is a fight that it's such a good fight. It's such a good fight. It's gonna be a tough night for Dillian Whyte. It's gonna be a very tough night for him. But I think people are writing him off because I think with Tyson Fury's resurgence, he's managed to corner sort of the casual market almost. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but there's gonna be 100,000 people there. Not every single one of them is going to be a hardcore boxing fan.
No.
And some of the things that I've seen online about Dillian Whyte, people are just writing Dillian Whyte off. I think that's disrespectful. I think he's a live dog in this fight, like a proper live dog. And I mean, I wouldn't bet the house on him or anything, but I mean, he's gonna pose some real problems for Tyson Fury.
And I think also what you've got to think about is, and I made this point the other day, Deontay Wilder has always been ranked above Dillian Whyte. But if you look at them together, side by side, you look at the technique, Dillian Whyte is a far better boxer than Deontay Wilder, much more technical. Maybe he doesn't have the same amount of power. Yeah, you could argue that, but everything else he's got stamina. He can take a punch. He can throw a variety. He's got a great left hook, a nice overhand right. He's good on the jab. We've seen him overcome a lot of, Povetkin. His amazing fights with Chisora that he had where he uppercutted him and dropped him like a rock. He's got some power behind him, and you can't write him off. And it's the heavyweight.
Yeah.
Heavyweight division. Anyone over 200 pounds is able to just finish anyone at any time. It's unreal.
Yeah.
So I think I would definitely put my money on Tyson Fury just because of the fact that he can stay out of range if he wants to. If he wants to stay out of trouble, he could win on points. If he wants to get involved in an actual proper fight, which I feel like he really wants a dogfight, and I feel like he wants to knock him out, he's at more risk because that's what Dillian Whyte wants, because that's the only way Dillian Whyte can win. Because as the old adage goes, you gotta bang the boxer, and if you're a boxer, is that right? You got to bang the boxer. That's right. The boxer, the banger. Yeah. So he's got to go in and he's just got to go smash in hell for leather. He might come in and rob the bank. But I think it's going to be an interesting fight because Tyson Fury wants to keep up his knockout ratio. So it's going to be hell of a fight, man.
No, I think you brought up some very interesting points there. Quite a lot to unpack, but I think one of the things you said, in fact, two of the things that you said were very, very interesting. So, for example, you said something about Dillian Whyte having a great left hook. I actually think he's got one of the best left hooks in the heavyweight division. The way he closes the distance and throws that shot, and we saw shades of that against Joshua. Even when he was hurt and he was on his back foot, he managed to land that shot on Joshua, which almost turned the momentum in his favor. And that was a very inexperienced, very raw Dillian Whyte as well, with a trainer. He was kind of floating from camp to camp at the time as well. but another thing as well, I think this resurgence of Tyson Fury, this reinvention of Tyson Fury as well, he is a sort of come forward on the front foot type of fighter now with Sugar Ray Hill. And I think that's going to be, I think that it's going to make for a very interesting night. But because I think while that is an anomaly because he can hit so hard, but one thing he isn't is physically strong. That's what makes him an anomaly for a heavyweight. He's not a big stacked heavyweight. Yeah, he's ripped and everything like that. But Tyson Fury was actually the far bigger man every single time they fought. You know, it's just something that Tyson Fury realized in the 12th round. Actually, if I impose myself on this man, there's nothing he can actually do because I'm far bigger than him and I can smother him. He's not gonna. I feel if he crashes into Dillian Whyte in that same sort of fashion, he's gonna meet. He's going to be meeting somebody who is a very, very well built sort of man who can push him back. I think he is going to go on the front foot and look for a knockout, which is going to make an amazing fight. I've learned from experience never to pit against Tyson Fury because he's just that guy, and he's that guy who he can box, he can move forward, and he seems to have the chin of just, you know, the chin and the will of just some ungodly being. I would never pit against Tyson Fury, but I think Dillian Whyte is a live dog, and I think he's gonna make it very. And I love his mentality coming into this fight as well. He's not playing ball. He's like, fuck you, I want more money. He's showing no respect. He's like, I'm not gonna turn up and have your promoter Frank and everyone just sort of like, you know, take shots at me. I'll do what I want to do. And as much as that's a bit annoying for the fans, and it's like, is he going to sign? Is he not going to fight? He was always going to sign, you know. He was always going to sign. It's the biggest fight in boxing. He was always going to sign. But it's like, I love that mentality of like, I'll do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that's the mentality he needs to have, because Tyson Fury, if not, will run over him. You know what I mean? Because Tyson Fury does what he wants when he wants. You know?
Yeah. I know you made some very, very good points. I like what you mentioned about Joshua, because I actually rewatched that fight, and it was a very, very early warning sign of Joshua, because in the second round, Dillian Whyte did I think it was a 1-2, and he caught him with a right on the chin, and Joshua wobbled and he was staggering around. And if Dillian Whyte had been a bit more, put the foot down a bit more, I think he was a bit wary because it was on his second round. He didn't want to get caught on the counter. But if at that point he wobbled Joshua, and you could see he could have knocked him out. I watched that fight. The second round, you watch it again, Dillian Whyte is all over Joshua at the end of the second round, and he managed to survive it and obviously knocks him out. And I think it's the seventh round or whatever. But yeah, that was an early sign from Joshua, just how vulnerable he is, and showed you how close that fight was, because I think Dillian actually beat Joshua in the amateurs already. So they already had a bit of blood there, a bit of bad blood that they obviously Joshua was desperate to avenge. And then you made another good point about the weight. Deontay Wilder is a very light guy for being so tall. You know, he's a basketball physique, really. He's very, very light. And Dillian Whyte is not going to be someone you can lean on the same way that Tyson Fury was leaning all over Deontay Wilder. He was leaning on him. He was tiring him out in the clinch every time. Every time he was trying to avoid the straight rights, he was just leaning into him, clinching and tiring him out, sweating all over him, all the rest of it. But Dillian Whyte, actually, I think Tyson Fury is aware of that, because he's just recently said in the press, I don't know if you've seen it, that he's going to come in at his heaviest of all time. So he's going to come in heavier than he's ever been. So
that doesn't sound like a man who's planning on boxing all night in terms of on the back foot, moving around, being elusive.
I hope so, yeah. I hope so. And I think he's just going to come in like a powerhouse, and it's going to be an absolute barnstormer of a fight, and I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. Sorry, somebody just...
Have you heard, just a quick side note, have you heard Tyson Fury say that he wants to retire after this fight?
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I really don't like about Tyson Fury, I really don't like that every time he has a fight, after the fight, he says, oh, I'm going to retire after this fight, or I'm going to have 2 more fights and then I'm going to retire. It's annoying, man. Just don't say it. Don't say it. If that's what you're going to do it, but don't tell everyone because it's annoying for the fans. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear him dominate the division. If he's the guy who says he is, we want to see him complete the task, win undisputed, get all the belts, beat a few other bastards and retire and go into the sunset. But don't go, oh, I've only got 1 more fight. Oh, this is my last fight. I'm going to retire. He changes his mind so many times. Do you know what I mean? It's frustrating for me.
Yeah. No, and you never know with Tyson Fury what he's saying genuine. Like I really admire Tyson Fury because you know, the things that he talks about are very relatable in terms of mental health and everything like that. But you never know if what he's saying. And I'm just thinking, at this point of your career, how could you walk away? And to me, if he does walk away, I think there's still some questions around him. You know, I do think that there's higher quality opposition for him to fight in the heavyweight division. There's some massive British fights. I mean, him versus Joshua. I mean, look at how big him versus Dillian Whyte is in the UK. Him versus Joshua in the UK will be massive. Him versus Usyk, just from a technical standpoint, would be amazing. Would be a fantastic fight. And there's plenty of other fights as well, but I never know how to take Tyson Fury. I never know if he's being spot on or if he, you know.
There's part of the stuff that I like. I like the mind games. I think he's good at the mind games. Some of the stuff he does is I find it good because he's great for the sport. He's entertaining, and we need more entertainers in boxing because there's a lot of like deadwood personalities. But he is a great guy to be in the sport. But he says some freaking annoying stuff sometimes, especially, and that's the one thing I think.
Outlandish shit. He says outlandish shit.
Yeah, he does talk a lot of shit, you know. But that was the one thing I wish he wouldn't do. Well, I mean, that was a good talk, mate. I enjoyed that. Do you have any other fights or anything you're looking forward to? Anything you're thinking of?
At the moment, I'm not really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to some potential fights that could be made.
Yeah.
The fights that we have made at the moment that are sort of signed are. I said, like, I can't wait for the Warrington fight. To be honest, man, that is going to be a fantastic night of boxing.
You mentioned. Go on.
No, I was going to say obviously the Tyson Fury fight, which we've just went over as well. I really, really want to see George Kambosos get back in there as well. He's been Lomachenko's been in the media the last couple of days about trying, and Lomachenko is a hero because he actually turned down. He was given leave so he could leave Ukraine and go and train, so he could go abroad and have a training camp. But he chose not to. He chose to stay in Ukraine. Which I think is totally the right thing to do. I mean, the man is a warrior in and out of the ring. But I just want, I can't wait. I want to see George Kambosos fight Devin Haney. I want to see him fight. I would like to see him fight Lopez again as well. To be honest, I think.
I was going to say, you raise a good point because you said that fight was between Wood and Conlan were potential for the fight of the year, but Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez, man, what a fight that was. What a fight. That was unreal. That was probably one of my favorite fights I've seen in a long time. And I think Kambosos was very underrated, and now he's seen as a real threat. And because, you know, he's got a lot of desire. He had the desire to win it, and you could see he really wanted it bad. And I'm just wondering if he has still got that to defend it against someone like Devin Haney, someone like Lomachenko. Again, he was a different animal, different style, a lot smaller, a lot more harder to get. So it's going to be interesting to see that fight. That's definitely something that I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, as well, we've got Katietaylor coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing her fight. That's another big title fight. You know, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest women's fights against Amandaserrano. Obviously, huge money, and as much as people hate Jake Paul, he is giving those ladies a lot of money that they probably deserve, because they're not paid anywhere near as much as the men. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that fight and seeing. I don't know if it's a step too far, because Amandaserrano is a lot bigger than Katietaylor, a lot bigger. She's a bit older.
Yeah,
but we'll see. So that'll be a good one. But yeah,
yeah,
that was good.
I'm glad that you brought that fight up, because that's a fight that there's so many good fights that I'd actually forgotten about that one. And I am actually, you're absolutely right. You know, they are going to receive a massive payday. They're going to headline Madison Square Garden, which has never been done by female boxers. And you know, Katietaylor is a phenomenal boxer. I actually give her the edge in the Serrano fight. To be honest, I know there's a size advantage for Serrano, but I think the class of the sort of boxing system that Katietaylor's come through, I think that's going to show on the night. I think that's going to show on the night, and I think she's going to have too much for Serrano. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Amandaserrano, she hits hard as well. She hits hard, like, for the size of her, and for obviously being a female as well. She cracks, like, you know. She can really change the fight with one good shot. So yeah, very intriguing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Hamza. I appreciate your time. Thanks for answering those questions. It's been great to have you on. Hopefully I'll have you on again soon. This has been another episode of Another Round Boxing Podcast. I'll see you all soon again.